Hello fellow travelers, in version 3.8 we finally got a decent abyss, and in this video I'm gonna show you what will help you get better results there. In Chamber 1 of Floor 11 we have a bunch of ruined enemies with increased physical resistance for the first half and lots of samurais with reduced physical resistance for the second. In this chamber we have to protect the monolith, so it's all about drawing attention and forcing enemies to fight you, thus any form of crowd control will be extremely helpful. In the first wave, all enemies actually prioritize you over the monolith, so rush towards defender and wait for the other two to teleport to you. The second wave might be the most problematic one. Scout will follow you, but it's very hard to re-aggro two cruisers on the opposite sides from the monolith. The best way to save some durability here is to use Ember. Use Baron Bunny to distract one of the cruisers and shoot the glowing core of the other one to interrupt its attack. If you shoot it again, cruiser will be stunned for quite a while, which will give you a chance to deal with the other one. Having a shield will help you aim safely here, and if you need more time, just repeat the process. Second half is much easier because samurais will immediately switch to you if you fight them. Note that new enemy will spawn every time you kill one, so lead everyone to the next spawn point to immediately attack the new guy. Just keep drawing them away from the monolith and don't stop attacking them, otherwise they will switch back to the monolith. In second chamber you'll have to deal with pyro and cryo shields, so bring some hydro and pyro to do so. In the beginning, first of all, turn around and get rid of the Samachurl to prevent a lot of damage, because he is the one triggering burning on you. For the second wave, stick to the rogue, because Metachurls will gladly follow you anyway. And finally, against Abyss mages, it's actually much easier to get rid of Cryo Shield by swirling Pyro Shields into it, but using Pyro also works well. Focus Cryo Mage first to get rid of its cage and prevent extra damage from reactions. Bishops in the second half have increased physical resistance as well as resistance to their respective elements. Remember that they can drain your energy with their ranged attacks, so proper dodging is advised. Alternatively, you can freeze them or just stagger them with high poise damage. Do your best to keep them on one side from you to not split them apart, and you'll be fine. In Chamber 3 you'll have to deal with Pyro and Cryo shields, so once again Hydro and Pyro are your best options. The scariest part here is that damage they deal will be massively boosted by melt procs, so shields will be your best bet to stay alive. Remember that Cryo guy fights in melee, so rush towards the Pyro one to stack them right from the get-go. Against Eremite elites in second half, their own elements are the best, but I can't think of a nice team made around Geo and Dendro, so instead I suggest using Freeze or at least shields to make this fight much easier. And as always, focus on the pets first to deal massive damage to their owners. Here's what we get in the end, and the random teams with unpopular characters that actually worked nicely. Floor 12 starts with a bunch of Rift Hounds, which are vulnerable only to their own element, and you'll have to deal with Lecter's Pyro Shield. Since we have both Geo and Electro dogs, countering both is not really an option. Moreover, you'll have two waves of them that include both versions, so countering half of them won't speed up the process either. The main concern here is Lecter's shield, so instead just bring any AoE team that includes Hydro. If you need a way to stack the Rift Hounds, in the beginning of a fight you can rush forward to the wall and start your setup. Turn away from the wall and all the dogs will stack up nicely there. Do this again for the second wave and then you'll have the final wave spawning right nearby. For whatever reason, big Rift Hounds have brain-dead AI, so most of the time they will just stand still. Focus on the Lecter and make sure to always stay close to him, so when dogs attack you, they'll stop nearby. If you have enough Hydro application, Lecter's shield won't be a problem, but if you don't, your best bet is to use Animo to swirl Hydro from the Rift Hounds into the shield. And lastly, healing comes in handy here to survive corrosion. Second half has 3 waves of enemies with a bunch of different resistances. Remember that Pyro, Cryo and Dendro are the best for dealing with Lavachurl's shield, and Quicken or Freeze can help you knock primal constructs out of invisibility. But if you aim for 3 stars here, you should be able to kill them before they turn invisible anyway. Once again, AoEs will be your best bet here. You can gather all the constructs without pulling by rushing to the right side. Wishups fight in melee and gladly come towards you, so just try your best to keep them on one side from you to not split them apart. And the last wave is where things get tricky. Hilichurl rogues start very far from each other and they have ranged attacks, so they won't come towards you right away. Moreover, Lavachurl loves throwing itself all over the arena. You can stack Hilichurls by waiting at the edge of arena behind one of them, but my preferred way of dealing with it is to actually just wait. Rush towards Lavachurl and start working on its shield. Make it jump right between Hilichurls, then get back to the center and start your setup. Your main goal is to stay there and get rid of Lavachurl's shield before it enters rage mode and start throwing itself again. While you're at it, Hilichurls will finish torturing slimes and will charge at you if you stay in between them. After that, the fight becomes pretty straightforward, but stay focused because these guys hit hard. This chamber is the toughest one just because of the sheer number of enemies we have to deal with, but here are some teams that I managed to clear this chamber with, earning 3 stars. In second chamber we have Pyro Shields that can be countered exclusively with Hydro, and Black Serpents that have increased physical resistance and resistance to their respective elements. They also get strong buffs if they hit a shielded character, so don't rely on those. AoE damage is still your best bet here. All of the enemies are susceptible to crowd control and can be staggered, but if you don't have pulling abilities, just stick to ranged enemies. Keep in mind that Pyro Skirmishers jump away from you if you stay close, so you can make them get closer to each other, but they shouldn't give you a hard time anyway, as long as you have Hydro in your team. Same goes for Black Serpents. Focus on Cryo one, then on Pyro one. The other two fight in melee, so they will come closer anyway. Rush behind the big guy to make it lower its shield when necessary, and don't worry if you have to spend extra time here, because the second half is just a Simon. It poses no threat at all if you have a reliable way to proc quicken on it to knock it out of invisibility, and keep in mind that it simply teleports forward after becoming invisible. Here are my teams that worked well in this chamber, for example. About the last chamber, you need to know that Mirror Maiden has increased Hydro resistance and Pyro is great against both Lore Master and her pet. The fight starts with just 2 Eremites with auras. Hydro one is the most annoying because it will increase your cooldowns. You can either kill the Eremite to get rid of its effect or dispel Hydro from yourself. For the first time, aura trigger will happen after 15 seconds, so ideally you want to align your rotation the way, so at this point you will be spamming normal attacks inside Bennett's burst. If you can't prevent cooldown increase, try to stick to abilities with shorter cooldowns to not be affected by it too much. Even though you want to focus Eremite Girl first, you'd still better fight on the right side of arena, because this is where Mirror Maiden will spawn after you kill one of the Eremites. She often teleports away from you, while Lore Master can teleport towards you, so just turn Mirror Maiden away from the Lore Master to stack them together, but it's no big deal if you fail. Mirror Maiden becomes much scarier after she hits you, so avoid her attacks for as long as you can. And as always, do your best to kill Eremite's pet as soon as possible. In the second half we have Wishup's duo from Enkanamiya. They have increased physical resistance and resistance to their respective elements. Moreover, you'll have to kill them both at the same time to prevent them from reviving each other. You can save a lot of time in this fight if you prepare to soak damage by bringing enough healing or shields. Other than that, there is really not much you can do, so just keep track of their HP and distribute your damage equally between them. Here are the teams that were good enough to clear the entire floor 12, including this chamber. Anyway, that's all I have for you this time, fellow travelers. Good luck with your runs and have a great rest of your day.